Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing 3 different volumes of Ultimate Spider-Man. Volume 3 with Volume 3 with Dr. Octopus, Volume 4 with the Green Goblin, and Volume 5, which doesn't really have like a super villain in it, but I'll get to it. I don't have it in my possession, but I have read it. Okay, so let's get to it. Volume 3, excuse me, has to do with Spider-Man doing a presentation on in one of its classes on being a superhero, which I actually do not think is ever brought up again. They just talk about it once and then it gets thrown out of the way. And actually, Kong, which is it's Flash Thompson's like friend, and he helps egg on Peter or whatever. And he figures out that Peter is Spider-Man and tries to prove it by like kicking him, but Peter's spider sense goes off, and he knows not to do anything too crazy, so he gets kicked, and nobody believes Kong. So, and also, like I said, on the cover you can tell it has Dr. Octopus's arms, so as you can see, Dr. Octopus is going to be in this volume, and he's created by this huge explosion, which I believe is caused by the whole Norman Osborn trying to become the Green Goblin. So, and when he wakes up, you see this grotesque image of his skin sort of molded into the metal arms. It's not a very pleasant image, but also there he blames Justin Hammer, and he tries to attack him and destroy him. And there's also Kraven the Hunter, which I sort of don't like him as much in the Ultimate Universe because he's just a TV show host, and that sort of takes away from some of his character, which granted in the 616 universe he doesn't have a whole lot of character. He's just a hunter who wants to fight or hunt Spider-Man. So, but still, to me, it takes away some of his character. I like the character of Kraven. In the Ultimate Universe, not so much. But he ultimately defeats the two villains, whatever, and he gets home, and he is late, and his Aunt May is sort of punishing him, which we'll get to in Volume 4. Which I like this volume a lot, actually. It has a weird scene of Norman Osborn sort of becoming the Green Goblin, which we sort of delves into his what it is like to become the Green Goblin. I find that sort of interesting. So after Volume 1, Harry has been gone for a while, and all of a sudden he pops back up out of the blue, and so then Harry's father, Norman Osborn, wants Peter to come down to his house and have lunch. I don't think it's ever really stated, but he just wants him to come over to his house and like hang out, I guess. But as any smart person would realize, if you're supervillain, the guy that tried to just kill you a few months ago wants you over to his house, you'd know that he's trying to kill you, which indeed he is. So he threatens him in what I think is actually a very disturbing sort of way. Like, he threatens to torture his aunt and his girlfriend, Mary Jane, of course, and make him watch, which is not very good. So there's that. And again, like I said, you get a look into what it is like to become the Green Goblin. and he sort of pictures Spider-Man's face as like a bug. I find that sort of weird, and there's all these voices in his head, and it's crazy. And another thing that happens is Nick Fury sort of comes to Peter Parker and like reveals himself, and they sort of talk, and Peter finds out more about the Oz formula, which is a failed attempt in creating the super soldier serum. And then what I was saying to the earlier in the part of becoming the Green Goblin and what it's like, and we get to look into the mind of Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin. Well, that is later in the issue, or volume, excuse me, when he just sort of takes action and goes hunting, and Mary Jane and Harry are sort of like walking, down the street, like I think they're just leaving Norman Osborn's house, and Norman Osborn swoops in and picks up Mary Jane, and then takes her to the Brooklyn Bridge, Queensboro Bridge, I believe. And you get that iconic Gwen Stacy death scene, as seen behind me, but with Mary Jane. So that's pretty cool. And I like how at the end, if you haven't ever read a Spider-Man comic, or the Ultimate Series is made for the my generation, pretty much. So if you haven't read a Spider-Man comic and you don't know what you're getting into, then it's sort of interesting to see where it leads up to, or if she's dead or not. Which in fact she isn't, because why would they kill off Mary Jane this early? So she's not dead, and we find out in later volumes that it is actually traumatizing for her, which, why wouldn't it be? Somebody threw her off a bridge, she almost died, that's not good. So he ends up beating Norman Osborn. He goes into a prison, actually. That was pretty obvious. He goes into like SHIELD custody, and yeah. So that is the end of Volume 4. And now we go into Volume 5, which again I have read, but I do not own a physical copy. So Volume 5 is one of my it's one of my favorite volumes. It is called Public Scrutiny, as where Volume 4 is Legacy, Volume 3 is Double Trouble, Volume 2 is Learning Curve, and Volume 1 is Power and Responsibility. So now that that is out of the way, let's get to it. So Volume 5 deals with sort of the stress of what happened to Mary Jane. There's an imposter Spider-Man going around beating everybody up, and ends up killing Gwen Stacy's dad, and she starts to live with the Parkers. And the Rhino attacks, and Peter and Mary Jane break up, and then and also another side note is Gwen Stacy's dad is dead, and her mom is not the best to her. She is sort of abusive, and I wouldn't say abusive, but just doesn't really, ignores her is the best word for it. She doesn't really care for her, just sort of doesn't really want her in her life. So now she has a horrible mother, and her father's dead, and she's living with the Parkers, so he has to deal with that. And what I really like about the end of the book is Peter is, again, there's this imposter, he's just putting on a mask, and he's just doing it for laughs and giggles and all that stuff. So there's that. And he just starts wailing on the guy, and he almost kills him, which I find interesting. We delve into the psychology of Peter. And also he ends up getting shot because he is out chasing this guy and trying to stop crime, and the police sort of gun him down. So then he has to deal with a bullet wound, and he can't really go to the hospital in a costume, so they have to like make him act and have to put on clothes and put his costume in a bag. And there's this scene I like, because Mary Jane's sitting down in the hospital with the bag of Peter's costume between her legs, and there's this lady sitting by her, and she sort of looks at the bag, and she sort of closes her legs and tries to close the bag, and she sort of notices the costume. So yes, and then at the very end, Peter and Mary Jane break up, which we'll delve into in Volume 6. And thank you again for watching. Appreciate it. Peace, webheads.